Welcome back to the Zero Podcast, where we talk about lifting, coaching, and more. You can learn more about Zero by going to www.xero.com.au. That's Zero with a W. We are also proudly sponsored by Establishment Coffee. Head to establishmentcoffee.com.au. Use the code 025 for 25% off and free shipping. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's what all the cool kids say. And if you're on Spotify, hit that 5-star review. We love it. Enjoy the show now.
All right. We've got a special guest today.
Yes, indeedy. Chris Kennedy, all the way from Ashburton.
Sheesh, Ash Vegas, baby.
Long journey to get on the podcast today. Every second in your life has led to this point.
Do you guys have cars in Ashburton?
No, we still got horses, bro.
Is this like a rural area or something?
Yeah, it's like
To be fair, it's 10 times more built up than Lake Coleridge.
way more built up. Yeah. It's like an hour outside of Christchurch.
Ah,
Yeah.
have you been to Lake Coleridge?
Nah.
It's so nice out there.
Ashburton's not far from Lake Coleridge.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same countryside and everything, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
go through
it's beautiful.
Ashburton to get there, right?
No, so you got to go further to get to Ashburton. I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
I think. Or you just go a different way.
Yeah,
I remember.
Lake Coleridge is where James's parents live, in case you're wondering. Mm.
Yeah, so for those not catching on to the banter, the three of us are from the Christchurch region.
Damn.
Unfortunately.
All the best people come from the Christchurch region.
Yeah, very strong. Because according to Jet, us strong powerlifters. If you guys type my name in ChatGPT, it says I got what is it?
400 kilo squat,
Yeah.
407.8,
And 200 and something kilo bench.
286 kilo
286
bench.
kilo bench.
86.6.
And a 495 kilo deadlift.
Something.
I don't want to brag, but yeah.
Anyway, so Chris, we normally start off the podcast by saying what we're grateful for this week. Gidge, do you want to kick us off?
Yes, I am grateful for Michael Kingston.
Yeah.
He is just absolutely amazing. How long's he been on board with us now?
Don't know. A little while now.
Yeah, and he's just such a delight to be around and such a big help, and we absolutely adore him. So thank you for everything, Michael.
Amen.
He's the fucking man, eh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
He is.
Chris, what you got?
This week in particular, I've been pretty grateful for the powerlifting scene in Australia. I was at a competition last week and it was just like another awesome one. So, yeah, feeling the love in that area.
Was that the deadlift comp? Where was that at again?
That was at Sim City and
That's right. Yeah, on the sunny coast. Hey. Yeah.
Chris, just make sure you have the mic like even closer.
Right up to your mouth.
right there.
Yeah,
Perfect.
there you go.
Sweet.
Well, on the back of that, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but I'm grateful for Steve Bradshaw. Steve Bradshaw is the man. Like
He is the man.
Yeah.
he's just so helpful, and he just gives and gives and gives, and never ever ever asks anything in return.
He is the
And
man.
I don't know. I feel like I try to do that in my life, and it's very rare that there's just not a lot of people out there that are like him.
Mm-hmm.
And he does so much for us, and he's just like such a cool blend of a father figure and business mentor in my life. And I know he helps so many people out in Zero, so just grateful for Steve.
Well, me and Chris were just talking about this. You know, he got Chris a job,
Yeah.
but Chris didn't know he owned the company.
Oh, really? He thought he was like one of the workers.
Yeah, like I thought that at the start, like, because it was just so like casual in that, and then only about like 3 or 4 weeks in, one of the other workers was like talking about how like he owns the place.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way, but
Yeah, well,
that he is, like,
because I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, Steve presents himself very humbly and casually. You know, he doesn't walk around saying, I own this big company.
yeah, exactly.
But the thing I love about that is you'd never think he works as hard as he works. As in, like, he doesn't wear it as a badge of honor. He just works fucking hard. And you know that you can't achieve what he's achieved in business without working your ass off for years and years and years. So I love that about him too.
Yeah, he makes it come across like he doesn't try it or like
Yeah.
so casual. I am grateful for another year done with Zero.
Yeah.
Nice. Same.
Clocking them up. Yeah, good year. Almost there. Got another week. Wrap up work for, I don't know, whatever it works out to be, like 11 days or something.
Couple of weeks.
Couple weeks.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Good. It's been a good year
It's been a wonderful year.
for some. All right. Well, what about quotes? Chris, you got a banger quote lined up?
Yeah, I googled this just before, so
Nice.
I've got a quote by Marcus Aurelius.
The Stoics.
Mm.
James and I went through a Stoic quote phase.
Yeah.
I'm still in that phase. Like,
Yeah, good.
So it's you have 2 lives, and the second one starts when you realize that you only have one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sheesh.
Great one.
Nice.
Very, very nice.
You want me to go?
Yep.
All right. A candle never loses its light, lighting another candle.
Mm.
Oh, I like it.
Nice. That is good.
Steve Bradshaw. Lighting candles. I like it. Gidge.
If something is out of your hands, it deserves freedom from your mind too.
Ooh,
nice.
out of character.
Really?
Well, just hoping for space and
Death.
yeah.
No, that's a good one. Mine is no distractions doesn't mean full focus.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that.
All right. Well, Chris, this podcast is all about you. So let's start from the top. How did you find yourself getting into the gym and into training?
Like when I got like real deep into it, it was actually like when I was in prison. Like I went to prison back when I was like 19, almost 20, and yeah, like a couple of guys in there just like introduced me to a workout pretty much on my first session in there, and yeah, I don't know, it just made me feel like way better than I ever did like when I was on any kind of drug. Yeah.
So before you went to prison, like obviously you had an issue with drugs, and we'll come back and look at life before prison in a bit. But had you done any training before? Like had you played sports growing up, or had you been in the gym growing up, or was that your first real introduction to training hard?
That was like my first real introduction into like structured training. Because like before that, I was quite into like skateboarding. So I did skateboarding for like most of my teenage years. But I like, you don't really count that as like exercise or anything because you just go out there and I don't know, have a jam for like maybe 10 hours or like 2 hours, and yeah.
When you were hard into skateboarding, were you in Ashburton or had you moved to Christchurch by then?
No, this was Ashburton. So because we moved to Christchurch when I was like the intermediate range. I think that's like about 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah, I pretty much got straight into skateboarding when we went there because the skate park's like the only thing to do. Like
Yeah.
Ashburton, the only thing that's there apart from the supermarket.
Yeah. So where was your favorite park in Christchurch? Like Jelly Park or Washington? Everyone loved Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Washington because like whenever we did trips to Christchurch or anything, it would just always be to Washington.
Yeah.
Washington might be one of the best skate parks in the world.
Really?
Pretty
Yeah,
sick
it's
park.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite like world round known as well, like it always has been.
Yeah, whenever they do tours, I think I told you I saw the Etnies team tour there.
Yeah,
So,
to be fair, there's nowhere else to go. So,
well, the BMX is like the Jelly Park, eh?
Jelly Park, yeah.
Yeah, that's where all the BMXs went.
Yeah, Jelly Park, yeah.
Just because a lot of the stuff at Washington was a little bit like smaller transitions, a bit more built for skateboarding. Anyway, getting off that. I'm really curious to know what it was actually like in prison. And I don't mean as a whole. I mean more around the training stuff. Like when were you allowed to train? What did the gym actually look like?
Wait, can we go one step further back? Can we ask why you went to prison?
Yeah, so the actual crime that I did to go to prison was like an aggravated robbery. So it was like somewhat drug related, but like the background behind that is so I did like a couple of years like on and off just like living rough on the streets and that. I had like a bit of a drug addiction, and a lot of the guys that I was hanging out with like we made it pretty far for a couple of years, and then around about that 19 mark, quite a few of them started dropping off. Like they started going to prison or just disappearing in that, and yeah, I got to a point where like I wasn't like dropping off or in prison or anything, but I was like completely solo. And it was a point where I just was like, what do I do? And like I don't know if like every guy experiences this or every person, but like the ego like doesn't want to like ask for help. So to indirectly ask for help, I kind of like thought like, what can I do? In this moment, I was in Temuka at the time, and yeah, I was like, what are my options right now? Like, one of those options was, I could go to prison, and like have a place to like pretty much like sort my stuff out. So I pondered on it for like quite a while. Like I'd see all my friends like go in and out at the time, but they'd always like end up back in because they were in there for like maybe like 3 months or 6 months or something like this. So I told myself like, if I'm going to go there, I can't go for like a short period of time because it obviously doesn't work for them. They keep on going back. So I like thought to my head, I'm like, like I need like maybe like years, but I haven't had like a decent criminal record. So I'm like, what can I do to send myself to prison for like years? Is basically the thought that was going in my head then. I didn't want to like hurt anybody or anything like this, so I tried to think of something like that would get me in a lot of trouble, but like with ideally like the less amount of consequences to like other people. And like I just came up with an aggravated robbery because I looked in the papers and that, and it looked like the average was around about like 2 years and all that kind of stuff with like early guilty pleas. So I thought if I went in there and just didn't plead guilty, I might get like a longer sentence. And I looked at the criteria and I was like, all I had to do was pretty much like present like a weapon in front of a camera and get an exchange of something. So I knew a dairy in Ashburton, and like I thought this like all the way through, all the way down to like how big the counter was in that, because like I was also scared about like the fight flight thing because I didn't want to present a weapon and then like me get shot.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to present a weapon and like I didn't know what I would do in a fight flight as well. So I picked a place that had like a counter in between to minimize that. And yeah, I basically just went in and presented the weapon. I got $100 and then I left, changed my clothes and that, and hitchhiked to Maru. And then yeah, I called the cops I called Crime Stoppers Anonymous, and just told them that there was like a guy bragging about like an armed robbery that he did in Adiri in Ashburton, and I think that he lives at this address. I mean, yeah, basically, got arrested like not too long after.
Man, that's fucking cool. As in, it's cool that you had that level of self-awareness at that point in your life. Like as a 19-year-old kid that's been involved with a bad crowd and doing some stuff that normally sends people on a really bad path, that you had the level of self-awareness to hatch a plan to get yourself out that didn't impact other people's lives negatively.
Yeah, like at least to the best that I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did what you could with what you knew at that point in time, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What was it like when they picked you up? Like, did they come at you aggressively, or was everything just sort of calm and cool and collected?
Well, I had defender squad, like so I had like guns and that against me. But it was calm. It was just because it like involved a weapon. I guess they just have to be like
Sure, yeah.
like precautious and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like too crazy or anything, and like I obviously like didn't resist or anything, so it was pretty smooth. Yeah.
Because I'm assuming by this point, like you're coherent, you're kind of understanding what's happening, so you've like accepted your fate.
Yeah, it was like long before that, even before I like did the crime, because like when I did get arrested, it was almost like a big thing of like relief. Because now I'm like, okay, I can just like go somewhere and just like chill the hell out for a couple of years, maybe get some help in there or something like this, or find like some kind of purpose or whatever. So like it was a big amount of relief.
That's so cool.
When you get arrested, you obviously get taken somewhere to be held, and then eventually comes some sort of trial, right?
Yep.
Did you represent yourself, or do you automatically get like a government lawyer to navigate the process?
So you got like an option. They have it's called like legal aid.
Yep.
Where they can like assign you like a free lawyer. So I went for that option anyway. But you do have the option to represent yourself if you want, which is like not normally especially in New Zealand, because you do have the option to have like a free lawyer. It's like you might as well.
Yep.
But with what I was wanting anyway, I kind of just wanted to get as long as I possibly could at the time.
Yeah.
And my lawyer couldn't quite understand that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was getting, because I'm wondering, like, at what point in this story do you start telling other people the reason that you did this? Because I'm guessing that someone who's been picked up on aggravated robbery, no one's really going to listen to you or believe you. They're just going to think this guy's nuts.
Yeah, or he's just trying to like get off on like
Yeah.
easier charge or something like that. Or I was also scared that if I was too honest about that too, that they wouldn't send me to prison.
Yeah, backfire.
Yeah, so I did have to like word it a little bit, especially when they did like because they do like a pre-sentence report where they like interview you and all this kind of stuff, and I did like have to say things like I'm happy that I did it and like I'm not remorseful and all that kind of stuff.
But I mean, did the lawyer that you had been assigned, did they advise you to do that based on you saying, I want the longer sentence, or you just sort of knew that, figured it out?
I just knew that and figured it out because like the goal of the lawyer is always to like, because it's not good for the resume if they have like a first time offender that gets like 5 years.
Yeah, they want to help you the most, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So then ultimately you were sentenced to 3 years?
Actually, I originally got sentenced to 5 years.
Okay.
Well, that was like they give you like a how do you say, like an estimate kind of thing. Like this is what you're looking at for when you go up, because they hold you on bail, like but in custody, so you're on like the remand part of the prison while you're waiting for like the next court date, and then when you go up for sentencing, because usually your lawyer like knows roughly what you're going to get, or if like discuss this with the judge and all that kind of stuff, with some kind of deal. So originally it was 5 years, and then when I went into prison and I started working out, I quickly changed my mind and was like, okay, like maybe I could do like less. So I ended up giving like a guilty plea, and you get I got 20% off for that, so I got put down to 3.
So you can give a guilty plea after the fact?
No, this was at sentencing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you'd started, it'd been how many months between that and sentencing?
It wasn't long. I think it was maybe 2 months.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, roughly around about 2 months, because I got arrested in, I think it was September, and I think I was sentenced by Christmas. Yeah.
Far out. And so, like, obviously, you'd had a problem with drugs leading into it. When that's all of a sudden, had you stopped drugs by the time that you had done the robbery? Like, had you sort of stopped and were then contemplating, or you were at the point where it's like, I can't get away from this shit, I need to do something about it?
Well, that was a big part of the decision as well, because all the way up until I got arrested, I was on drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole time. And I don't know if I had like the self-control to not be in prison and like stop them outside of it. Because that was also like a big driving factor to like prison, because I'm like, it's going to be like harder to get drugs in there and all that kind of stuff.
So what was the process like stopping drugs, in terms of, obviously you're going to go through withdrawals, and was that a horrible process to go through in an environment that isn't really catered to rehab?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, I don't want to use the word fortunate, but like, because I was on meth, the come down from that wasn't as bad as like some of the other ones.
Sure.
So like something like heroin or whatever, where you actually get sick. So the come downs weren't too bad. I was just like real tired and, you know, like grumpy and like depressed and all that kind of stuff for a couple of months. But that was kind of like as far as it really went. Like no sickness, a little bit of sweats in that at the start, and like getting my appetite back, which was actually probably like good for me. But yeah, coming off them wasn't actually dramatically bad. Yeah.
From a cultural perspective in prison, what's the attitude like of the other people towards someone like you who's gone in for that reason of fixing your life up? Is it generally supportive? Are people nice, or is it a bit more of a hard environment like what you see on movies and TV?
Yeah, so I didn't tell anyone about that story there at all.
Probably wise.
Yeah, like, because I also wanted to go in there and not like have, or like not be like viewed as like the softie or anything like this, just in case I like did have like a horrible like 3 years and got like worse off than what I was like hoping for when going in. But the thing in there as well is that people don't really talk a lot about what they did. They'll say what they're in there for, but they don't really go into like people don't really go into details about the reasons why, because in there, a lot of people in there have had like drug problems and all that kind of stuff, so that when they go in there and they're off it, they kind of have like a shame or like a guilt kind of feeling about what they've done. So they do kind of, I guess, like avoid like talking about it and dwelling about it and that. Yeah.
So, like, how far into your prison sentence was it when you started training?
It was day one, pretty much.
Yeah. How did you get into training? Did someone like in prison? Did you like form some relationships in prison?
Yeah. So, pretty much the like entire sentence. So it was my very first day in there. It was the because like my friends that had gone into prison and everything beforehand, they kind of gave me like, I guess like pointers and that from when they went in and come back out and all that time. Because I'll talk about it and they'll like talk about like, you know, the last things that you want to do is like hide in your cell, hide away from other people, like isolate yourself or anything. And sometimes the best things you can do is like join a crew, whether it be like a workout crew, like a gang, or like something that's not going to keep you like isolated. So my first day when I was in there, because you get in remand, you got 4 hours out per day, so you're in your cell for 20 hours. And you get 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening, like if there's no lockdowns or anything. So my very first time in the yard, the mongrel mob were like doing a workout. And this is another thing that they try to do in there as well, is not everyone, but it's like a guilty pleasure for a lot of people in there where they want to like break you, like physically. So they seen this like small little like skinny twig come in. And yeah, they kind of like, I'm guessing they were like, oh, let's like get this guy in the workout and like fuck him up kind of thing. They took me through like the most intense workout ever. And believe it or not, I spewed up. I spewed up 3 times in there. And
nice.
yeah, I got the nickname Chucky that day. Yeah.
Did that nickname stick the whole time you were there?
Only in that unit. So
Yeah.
you do like a lot of moving around in there. So that was just remand. And then when you get like sentenced, you go to another unit, and then they can kind of like mix you around, like depending on like where they want to put you and what part of your sentence you're in and your security classification and all that kind of stuff.
Obviously, we're going to get to some powerlifting stuff soon, but I know like I want to talk a lot about this kind of stuff because these aren't conversations you want to have every day with people. Like, so I want to get that out of the way first, if you don't mind talking about this stuff.
Yeah, go for it.
But like, what was it like? So you're training with the mongrel mob. Did you end up having to join a gang, or you don't have to say the gang on here? No. Was it like, so mongrel mobs led the workout in that? Would like Black Power and mongrel mob and that, would they get along in the prison?
It depends on like what unit, like, yeah, typically, but there'll be some units where say there is like two, like an actual like rivalry. So in this unit in particular that I was in, there was like a rivalry because there was a Black Power member and a mongrel mob member. And it was the mongrel mob member that was in there for stabbing the Black Power member, and they were in like the same unit. So one unlock, the one will be in the cell and the other person will be out, and then they'll like just change it like to do that. So they'll just like segregate where possible. And also they do have like different remand units and different units in general as well. So they do try to keep people in the same like categories. Mm-hmm. Also, like, because they'll have like a, like I guess like a file of these people as well, their associates, and maybe like past histories and all that kind of stuff, where they do, I guess, use the best of their ability to put people where it makes sense.
Because it's a little bit different. Like gang culture in New Zealand's so different to it is here. Like, you know, gang culture back home, if you're like mongrel mob or Black Power, they've got it tattooed on their face. They've got that shit tattooed everywhere. You can wear your patches, you can do all that, but you don't really see it over here. So I remember like growing up playing rugby league at our games, like, you know, you'd have Black Power on the sideline, mongrel mob on the sideline, like some skinhead gangs, and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like it's definitely obvious over there. Yeah.
Was there a point at all in your 3 years, I'm guessing probably early on, where you're like, oh fuck, I'm in prison? Like, were there defining moments of hectic stuff that happened in there that made you think this is actually really serious?
Yeah, quite a few times, because like most of the time it was actually like in a weird way like enjoyable because like I got like my purpose in there. Like that's where I first started like to feel like my purpose. But then you would of course like get the times where like, you know, somebody got like stabbed or something happened or there was a fight next to you or something like this where it got quite intense, and those points in particular you're like, they kind of do freak you out a little bit for where you actually like are, but it definitely like dies down pretty quick because no one talks about it afterwards.
Did you have any near misses yourself?
No, not really. I did have a bit of a hard time at the start because I did get like, because I was like a skinny like little meth head that came in, so I had like a bit of a hard time at the start. Like when I was working out, it was all good because like I would join the workout crews and like I wouldn't give up or anything like this. I would have a hard time, but I wouldn't give up. And they kind of like, in a way, like I guess like respected me a little bit for this. But at the same time, you still get like the bullies that are around there as well. They'll come and like beat you up and like steal your food and that. But that was only for like maybe the first 2 or 3 months. Because then I started getting like a little bit more confident and that from the workouts and everything.
What were the like what would the workouts entail? Is it like the stuff you see on the movies? You know, when they do the burpees where they go, and then like you know those burpees they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it was like that kind of stuff.
It's mostly like as close as you can get to say like, because what everyone in there is training for is to fight basically. Like so it's like a lot of cardio, lots of body weight stuff, like shadow boxing and all that kind of stuff is illegal in there. So you all do that in like the cells. So you'll have like jandals as like your pads, and you'll do like a lot of pad work and that in the cells, and then like outside of the cells where, because in the cells there's no cameras, but like outside of the cells you do like all your running around the yard, which is, it's depending on what the yard is, it might be maybe like 3 times the size of this room here, and you'll get people that just like run around in circles. Like there was one guy, for example, his name was Lon Reddy. He was in there for life for murder, and he measured out how many times he had to run around the circle to do like a marathon, and he would run marathons like every single week in a little circle. Yeah,
Damn.
That's hard out. Because like did they have, I'm guessing you can't have barbells and weights and stuff because they're essentially weapons.
Yeah.
So did they have like makeshift machines similar to what you'd see at the park when you're going for a walk, those sort of things?
yeah. So it depends on like what unit you're in. So when I got arrested, I first went to Dunedin prison, which was quite new. So they actually had like a gym facility which had like chest presses and like leg extensions and set of rows and all that kind of stuff. You'd go there once a week. So each unit would get to go there once a week for an hour. But pretty much every other unit, like, because I did most of my time in the Christchurch prison, it'll be a pull-up bar and a dip bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to realize the Kennedy genetic potential? For those who don't know, the Kennedys have unfair genetics.
The whole family.
It's jacked and
Unbelievable.
strong, unfairly jacked and strong.
To be honest, like not till I really started powerlifting, because it was just like pretty much because the workouts in there and also like afterwards for a few years were basically just like thrash yourself. So there wasn't like anything different to what anybody else was doing, because you're just all thrashing yourself. And yeah, it's quite hard to see who's doing more or less.
Which is cool because, I mean, that's obviously taught you a sense of grit that most people are never going to understand how to find. Like, it was a unique circumstance that would have taught you mental toughness beyond just, like, we can think we're hard because we push in the gym, but the way that you had to push not only in the gym but your entire environment then would have taught you a sense of grit that most people never have.
Yeah, and that was like that's actually one part that I'm real grateful about in there, because like you couldn't stop. Like that's why I was like spewing up all the time, because like you just couldn't, you weren't allowed to stop. You had to keep going until like it was like lockup time, or like if you're on the ground like crawling, then you're doing like maybe like push-ups or something, and like, you just can't stop.
I was gonna say, obviously you don't miss prison, but there must be aspects that you're like, man, that was a cool time.
Yeah, like there's definitely like a lot of areas in there that I do. Like I'd obviously like never go back because my life's like amazing, but like the sense of community in there and like the love for like self improvement in that, and there was like huge because like I was saying before, how like everyone goes in there and like most people will stop doing drugs and all that kind of stuff and start working out. They're eating like better food now and everything as well, so they feel better about themselves and they just want to like improve themselves. That was like a massive like eye opener seeing that in there. It's just like when they come out, that's obviously when they get back in the game and all that kind of stuff, and it all goes out the window.
So,
Yeah.
do any of you guys have any questions on the prison stuff before I move it on?
Nah.
So you got out at age 23 then? 22?
21.
21, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, how old are you now?
I'm 32.
32.
Sweet. So you got out at 21. The first thing you went and did was an exercise sports master's degree? Or an undergrad and then finished with masters?
Yeah, I started off with a certificate because I didn't
finish high school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to do like a university entrance and then like a level 4 certificate and things like just sport and exercise. Yeah.
And so obviously you'd found that you decided at some point through prison that's what you wanted to do, or did you decide that once you came out?
So the story behind that one there is this is like just at the initial part when I first got out, I actually had like every intention to go back. So like my idea was to come out, get some education on like, I wanted to do like a personal training certificate and then like go back in there and I don't know, like start like leading groups a little bit more and all that kind of stuff with like better knowledge behind it.
So you didn't have your head fully screwed on at that point.
No. I don't think I still do now. But
None of us do, brother.
But yeah, that was like the starting point of that was so like I enrolled in the level 4 certificate after I did the university entrance, and like the turnaround point for me was the tutor there was like at the end of the year he was like oh, you're like nominated for a top student award, you should look at like doing the diploma. And that's when like something just like triggered in my head. I'm like, oh shit, like a legitimate like a professor has like said something like this to me. So I'm like, okay, like I'll continue with the diploma. And then that was just when it just like continued, because then from the diploma I went to like undergrad. I mean, like did the undergrad and was like, masters and so forth.
How did you sort of support yourself once you got out of prison? Did you end up going back home, or did you find a job and stay in Christchurch?
Yeah, so I had to go to a house because I was on house arrest, so I had to go back home. My dad lived in Invercargill, which was like pretty much down the road from SIT, and yeah, it was just that and like student loans and all that kind of stuff.
SIT being like Sports Institute,
Southern Institute of Technology.
Yeah,
like
it's
a TAFE.
yeah, pretty much like a TAFE. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then how did you find powerlifting out of all that? Because you said it was a couple of years after prison that you found powerlifting.
Yeah, because like the first thing that I went into afterwards was bodybuilding.
Mhm.
Like I competed in that for a couple of years, and after my last competition, it was I think I last competed in 2016. That was my last year of my degree, and I was doing personal training for a couple of years, like during my degree and I was at Anytime Fitness at this point. And Shane Drozrak?
Yep.
Yeah, so he was working there as well, and
I used to coach him.
oh real?
Yeah, many years ago. Probably around that time, 2016, 17.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Yeah, he's living in New York now or something, or he did for a while.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the States. Like he was, or maybe he is still in New York, but yeah, he's definitely still like killing it over in the States somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, I came to coach him at 2016 Nationals in Dunedin.
Oh, true. Yeah, it was the end of that year, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Wow. Very small world.
Anyway, keep going.
And he pretty much like convinced all of us to do a novice meet in Queenstown that year. So he gave us some guidance in that for maybe like 6 weeks or whatever. A couple of us that worked there, and we just did the novice comp, and yeah, enjoyed it.
Where was the novice comp?
Queenstown.
Like whereabouts? They hold it in that like sports
Ferg
center
Burger.
thing.
Like I wish. I think it was at like a gym. So there was a gym and there was like a center thing as part of the gym. I think it might have been like a community center or something.
Yeah. And there's like the big glass windows and it overlooks the mountains and everything.
Yeah, it must have been that place. Yeah.
Anna would have run it or been involved with it.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember like anyone from back there, but I would imagine so. She might have been like emceeing or something back then.
Yeah, that's cool. So what were your first numbers at that novice meet, if you remember?
So I got 180 kilo squat. I weighed in at like 82 or something. A 140 kg bench, I think, or maybe 142.5, and a 220 kilo deadlift.
Yeah, nice. You must have been a very different body composition at 82 then compared to now.
Yeah. I honestly wish I had my like videos from back then, but definitely a lot different.
So just for contrast for people, what are your best numbers now?
So in reps, it's 320 kilo squat. In competition, 212.5 kilo bench in comp, and also 320 kilo deadlift.
Wild.
Yeah,
And this is at under 82.5.
yeah, under
So it's
82.5. Yeah,
over 10 times total body weight, eh?
yeah, yeah.
806.
862.5. Yeah, yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
Were you hooked on powerlifting straight away after that first comp?
Yeah, pretty much.
You were really strong at your first comp as
Yeah.
well. Like a first novice comp. That's incredible.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good.
So where were you living at the time when you did that, the Queenstown one?
I was in Invercargill still,
Yep.
just for my last, because that was my very final year of my degree. I was just about to graduate, and I'd already pretty much booked my tickets and enrolled into masters in Auckland at AUT.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you flew up to Auckland,
Mm-hmm.
completed your masters there. While you're doing your masters, how were you surviving? Were you same thing, student loans and government assistance, or had you started doing personal training and coaching on the side then?
Yeah, that's when I started coaching online, and I started working for AUT as well. So I was working in the gym. They also gave me a job like guest lecturing and lecturing for a couple of the undergraduate papers as well. So, and also like marking for like the personal trainer courses, and also like a couple of other papers as well.
Yeah, very cool. And where were you training when you were in Auckland?
Predominantly I was at the AUT gym, just because of where I lived. And then every now and then when we got the opportunity, I would go down to Get Strength.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Get Strength it's crazy how the history of that place in terms of like the powerlifters that have gone through that place.
So many, man.
Yeah, I've trained there. My mum used to live in Karaka, like way down south.
Yeah, yeah.
So every time I would stay with her, I'd either go train there or Decile 1. Yeah, I mean, Get Strength hasn't changed. I'm pretty sure it hasn't been cleaned either since the first time I ever went there like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I trained there, I don't know, about a year ago maybe. Cool gym.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sick. Like the environment there is pretty cool.
So then, obviously, you were competing IPF.
Yep.
And progressed through the ranks there. What are some of your highlights in your powerlifting career in the IPF? What are some of the standout meets for you?
It was definitely 2020. So that's like, because I was a 74 kilo pretty much my entire IPF journey. So like kind of a highlight was I went to Worlds in 2019. It was like awesome experience, but it wasn't like that much of a highlight for me. It was more when 2020 hit that's kind of where like things started happening for me.
Where was Worlds in 2019?
That was in Sweden.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That was also my like first time like traveling overseas as well.
Yeah, wow.
Did you place at that one?
I got 6 at that one.
Yeah, nice.
Was it easy to travel with like a criminal conviction, especially somewhere like Sweden?
No, like yes and no. So funny story behind that. Well, not really funny, but I don't know if I can like say this too much on the podcast, but
Oh, you can tell us after if you don't want to say it.
But like people pretty much tell you that you can't ever travel again once you've like gone in, and to a degree they're like kind of correct. But I had a layover in Japan before I had to go to Sweden, and on the plane they give you that like ticket of like, do you have like a criminal record and all that kind of stuff. So I pretty much spent like 8 hours of the 10-hour flight to Japan like stressing about like, I had my girlfriend there at the time with me, and I was like, shit, do I take yes because I'm like a reformed like honest citizen, or do I put no and like risk it? And like I was like real unsure the entire time, and I was like, oh, fuck it, like I'll like I'm honest now, like all that kind of stuff. I'll just put yes. And then we went through to go to customs, and she went straight through. And then like I gave them my card, and then he's just like, no, like you can't come in. Like what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, like he's like, why'd you tick yes? And I'm like, well, I've got like a criminal record. Like I'm just going to be honest about it. And he's like, then he started asking more questions, like what have you done and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, like I kind of went to prison, like
A little bit.
like a few years ago, like all this kind of stuff. And he's like, what, like pretty much like, what the hell are you even trying to like to get into this country? So they like took me out back. I had a couple of customs officers. They took me out back and they got me to like write down my entire criminal history. So like that's what I went to prison for. But I've got like a list of other stuff as well, like little minor stuff. So I wrote like everything down. It's pretty much like, you're not getting into this country. We're going to be sending you back to like New Zealand. We don't know when. It's going to be at your own expense. I had like no money. So I was going to be held in like Japan until that could happen. So I was like freaking out in there. My girlfriend had no idea what was going on because she already went through. I mean, another guy came in like later on and was like, what are you doing here? And I like told him the story that I like pushed yes. I clicked yes, or ticked yes, sorry. And then he's like, oh, like you shouldn't have done that. I'm like, oh shit, like what should I have done? And he's like, well, when they like come back, just tell them that you accidentally like ticked yes. I mean, now I'm thinking like, oh fuck, like I'm getting like set up now for like some kind of
Was this guy Japanese or like an international representative?
it was Japanese as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I've got like nothing to lose. So the other guys like came back in after that, and they were like, you know, so is there anything else you want to tell us? And I'm like, well, I kind of like accidentally like ticked yes. And they're like, well, you wrote all the stuff down. And I'm like, well, I didn't mean to. I didn't know what else to say. And I mean, he's like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, like I honestly did not mean to. I freaked out. And he's like, okay, you can come in.
That easy?
Wow.
So it turns out that people just don't like paperwork.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know someone else with a prior conviction that travels a lot that says he always just says no and just hopes that things don't flag in the system.
Yeah.
I've told you this though. Like I said no.
Yeah, because you've got like the most minor childish thing ever, right?
Yeah, I've got like two real stupid ones, and then but in Australia you have to tick yes.
When
And the
you come
one
back
time,
in.
and the one time I didn't, I got fucking. I think I've told the story a million times, but the lady was just like, "It is an honor to live in our country," and she took me aside, and I was in the office talking to them, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't know. I thought convictions go away after 7 years."
We're like, yeah, no, it's an honor. I live here. Let me
Yeah.
let me go home.
It's why I chose to fucking live here.
Oh, that's good. Glad you made it in. What about on the way back? Like James is just saying, do you do the same thing? You said, well, I probably shouldn't talk about it.
Well, like when I get back into New Zealand,
Or
Australia.
Australia.
no, I always put yes when I like travel places now, like or like most places that I'm especially gonna like live, like Australia. I always get questioned when I come through though, but they're pretty good about it because I just tell them the background and all that kind of stuff and how long ago it also was. But when I go through to places like Japan and places where I'm not gonna be for like anything more than a couple of weeks for like a holiday or whatever, I'll just put no.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, because they say that unless you're actually like on a list, like they don't really care. No one really
No.
cares.
They're not going to go
Yeah.
look you up or something like that.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So that's on your record forever? Like you'll have to do that all the time now?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
on there pretty much for life, which it like is, but it isn't kind of thing. So
Okay, so 2020, obviously COVID had happened. Were you still able to go and do Worlds?
no, so pretty much everything got cancelled that year. There was like a big invitational competition that they had in New Zealand that it was NZPF specific that they were holding that year as well, that I was like predominantly training for, and that also got cancelled too.
Mm.
So all they had that year was provincials, which was like the biggest highlight of my career, and like nationals that year as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Did so New Zealand had pretty harsh lockdowns for a long time.
yeah.
Because you were working at the university and an elite athlete, did you have privileges to continue training? Like how did you maintain your training through that time?
So we got a squat rack, a barbell, and some plates. I was living with my brother at the time, and we just had like a setup down in the garage at home.
Yeah,
Nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Did you have to buy that or did you loan it from a gym or something?
We loaned some of the gym equipment from the gym,
Yeah.
and we just bought the squat rack and the bench,
Yeah, nice.
just like a cheap one, but it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, made ends meet for a little while there.
yeah, exactly.
So was 2021 then the next Worlds?
2021 was the next world, but I stopped powerlifting in 2020.
Yep.
Because I went to mixed martial arts for a little while.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had my last like competition in 2020.
And so how long did MMA last?
Pretty much just over a year, maybe like 18 months.
How many fights did you do?
I just had one MMA fight, and then because I was more interested in like the jiu-jitsu stuff, so I just had like a bunch of those ones, and but like just one cage fight.
James is going to be so
I feel like we
sad.
need to repeat this whole thing now
Yeah.
that James is back. We're talking about Chris doing MMA and then being more interested in the jiu-jitsu side of things.
Oh yeah, let's go. sorry.
So what? I'll let James jump in. So did you compete in jiu-jitsu at all, or you're just interested in that aspect of MMA?
Yeah. I competed in jiu-jitsu maybe every couple of months or something for like that time period.
Do you reckon you could beat James?
Right now, no. I will be gassed in like 5 seconds. I'm already gassed.
So I mean, like that was a pretty quick turnaround, 18 months of fighting. What ultimately made you decide, okay, well maybe fighting's not the thing for me right now?
So that was like the time factor, because the good thing about like powerlifting is that you can train when you want to train. But with the fighting thing, it was like you have to be at like this class at this time and this class at this time, and it's kind of on a schedule now. And my life is just, it's like quiet sometimes, but then it's also like all over the show at other times as well. So I just couldn't maintain that for a sport like MMA.
And then at the end of the fighting stint, did you go back to powerlifting, or is that when you decided to head overseas for a little while there?
So I did one powerlifting comp in 2022 at the start of the year, I think it was, and then I decided to go overseas.
How long had you been sort of planning the trip? So you're happy to talk about it all, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For reference sake, you went to South America. What would you call it? A self-discovery journey?
Yeah, self-discovery journey, I would call it, like the underlying part behind it. Yeah.
How long had you been sort of leading into that?
Like I'd say indirectly during COVID, because that was like the time where you're like, everyone like slowed down, like had like not much distractions anymore. So like indirectly it started then, and then in 2022 it just like really started to come out that I need to do something.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so like obviously ayahuasca is not to be approached lightly. Is this something that you did extensive research on? Like how did you eventually arrive at the idea of going to South America and getting that deep?
It was a lot of Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Joe Rogan. But I was doing like a lot of other stuff at that time, like a lot of like therapy and a lot of self-work on my own time. And you know how you just kind of, I guess, navigate like deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of what you're trying to achieve. So it was like therapy, and I'm like, what else is there? And then like going through all the stuff online in there, and then Joe Rogan pops up with like this thing of like ayahuasca and DMT about like healing traumas and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it was a lot of listening and like watching and that before I actually like took the leap, because I didn't actually think I would do it at the start. It was more like interesting to me. Until like later on I found out it was like quite possible to actually like go and do something like this.
And so leading in terms of like the research that you were doing, was it just mainly listening to Joe Rogan and obviously experts on Joe Rogan? He's had people like Michael Pollan and Paul Stamets and all the like leading experts around psychedelics and the healing possibilities of these things. Did you go off and then do more research in terms of reading other books or looking into other people, watching documentaries?
Yeah, like lots of like just the YouTube documentaries and that. A couple of books like the How to Change Your Mind and that also. and a lot of like forums online just to hear like real people's experiences and all that as well.
Mm.
So I went through like hundreds and hundreds of like Reddit forums and all that kind of stuff, or what people were saying about it, and if it was like as effective as these people were saying in that, because I was still unsure about like, because these people are like researching in that, like, are they just saying it's this thing because they're wanting to bring this thing out, or is it like actually like proper legitimate for like everybody kind of thing?
Mm.
Where about in South America did you go on your spiritual journey?
It was predominantly in Peru in the Amazon jungle, so it was like pretty deep in there. Past it was like this place called Iquitos. I mean, you go like down the Amazon River for like quite a while until you get like deep in the jungle.
Like, when you do ayahuasca,
Mm.
so wait, DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is that part of ayahuasca?
Yeah, it gets
Yes.
activated through the plant mixed in the brew.
Yeah. So how long does the spiritual journey go for?
So like actual time, like a ceremony will be approximately like 6 to 8 hours.
Wow.
But you do it for like a week, right? Or did you just do the one?
I did about 100
Yeah, okay.
of them. Yeah,
Over how long of a time?
a year.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is it something you'd do again?
yeah, I'll definitely do it again. Yeah.
That's cool.
If you were to sort of like summarize the 100 in terms of experiences where kind of nothing happened,
Mm-hmm.
experiences that completely changed your view and who you are, and experiences that were terrifying and scary and maybe construed as negative, what would you say the percentages kind of are?
Well, they all like revolve around, like they all come back to like good experiences. Like the deeper you get, the more that you see like the terrifying ones are good because you needed to like go through that, and also like the ones where nothing happened, you needed to experience nothing for that time frame as well. And then the good ones, obviously, they're good because like they're good. So when people like came in there and they just start doing it, they look at them as like good, bad, or nothing. But the further you get down the journey, you just realize that it's all like necessary. Like all of it is good essentially at the end of the day.
Mm. And is that obviously that's reliant on the having good shamans around you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like set and setting is probably the most important part behind it, because like you'll hear the horror stories and all that kind of stuff, but the thing is that they only happen in bad set or settings. Because where I was staying, like it was a legitimate retreat, and every single week we had approximately like 24 people would come from like all over the world to like deal with their demons. And I can say that the entire time that I was there, not a single person had like a legitimate bad experience.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you were there for a year. Were you living at that retreat? And were you working there, or were you getting some sort of income from your coaching? I'm guessing the cost of living over there is completely different, and a foreign income probably helps.
Yeah, so I was living there. It was on and off, because I did some time in like Mexico and that as well. So my longest stint in the jungle was 4 months straight. But yeah, I was living there, like fully, had like my own little place in the trees, and you didn't have to, because I was working for them, I was like helping to just like facilitate the ceremonies and that, and just like be a part of everything. I didn't have to like pay for anything, and like, because you just eat and like sleep, so there wasn't like a supermarket down the road or anything that you can like spend money on, so you didn't really need money there.
And I mean, what's the living conditions like? Do you have modcons? Do you have Wi-Fi and electricity, or are you true jungle living?
They had solar there, so there was like power enough to have like you could charge your phone. There was like Starlink, but it was like you can maybe send like a Facebook message, but you couldn't like watch any videos or anything like this, or watch like a movie on TV or something. Yeah.
Did it feel kind of shit coming back to reality after doing that sort of thing? Like,
Yeah.
it must be so liberating having those things removed for a while.
Yeah, because like you just find this like when you finally realize that you like don't need anything external, because you're like living in that environment. It's just so peaceful. But then as soon as you come back out, it's like if I lived how I was living in there here, it just wouldn't work because I need to go to work. Like I need a car, and like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, far out.
Yeah,
It must have been crazy as well and satisfying to be working there and seeing so many people going through their own individual journeys on whatever level it is for them, and seeing them walk out of there completely different people.
Yeah, and that was, to be honest, like probably more of like a healing part of the journey opposed to actually like doing the ayahuasca itself, because you get like this like different type of empathy, because like people come in there and like they're being as vulnerable as they possibly can, like sharing like the darkest things that have happened to people out there, which is pretty wild. And yeah, so you see them like doing that, and then also like doing the ceremonies, and then like being happy again afterwards. Like seeing that like every single week was pretty cool. Obviously like doing ayahuasca as well was awesome, but that was probably more healing than the actual like ceremonies itself.
How sick do you actually get when you're doing it?
Oh, like purging and all that kind of stuff. It really depends. Sometimes like not at all. Sometimes like a lot. Like they say it really just comes down to like the thing behind it is like how much like shit you're carrying kind of thing. Because the purging is meant to be like stuff that you've like held on for like your whole life that's like weighing you down, all that kind of stuff. So if you've got like more baggage or like emotions in that you haven't like let out, and when you do ayahuasca, it's all gonna like come out in some way or another. Sometimes it's like spew and like that, like you hear, but then sometimes it's purging, like crying or like laughing or screaming or that kind of thing as well. Anything that gets like the energy out of your body. But like spew is kind of the most like visual thing that you can get, which is quite helpful sometimes, because for example you'll like purge and it's hard to explain like unless you're there, but you'll see like your like traumas like come out in this like thing, and it's like outside of you now.
I mean, I'm not
so wild.
I'm not gonna.
It's cool.
I've never openly spoken about my experience with these medications, but no matter how much you try to, it's ineffable. No matter how much you try to describe it to another person, it's always going to sound like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I hear though. These guys hear.
So I try not to talk about it too much to people because of that reason.
Yeah, they're just going to think you're crazy if they know nothing about it.
Am I allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, talk about whatever you want.
Every time I've had like a psychedelic experience, they're actually life changing, eh? Every single time, and just fucking cry for hours. It's incredible. So like, yeah, I'm really fascinated by that, by ayahuasca.
So you've been listening to the Joe Rogan Experience. Thank you very much. Maybe we should move on. Back to powerlifting. How much time have you got, by the way? I think this is going to be our longest episode.
Oh my God, I have to go. I got Billy 1 minute ago.
All right.
Sorry, gang.
You go see Bilbo
Bye.
Baggins.
CJ, go train Billy.
I'm really, I don't want to go.
You can jump in if you want, CJ. I don't know if you want to sit on that chair, though. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So take us back to powerlifting then. So you had your year in Peru and Mexico, etc. You come back. How soon? Or did you maintain any form of training? Like, I'm guessing you didn't do much in the jungle. Maybe some body weight stuff.
Yeah, no, I still trained while I was in there. They had like a little gym set up in there, so they did have a like a little squat rack with a couple of like bumper plates and a barbell in there as well, like pull up bar and that, because like people were coming there for like the retreat experience. They kind of wanted to still cater for people.
Yeah, so it's a little bit westernized to some degree.
Exactly. Yeah, like there was a pool and everything there as well. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you maintained some semblance of training.
Yep.
How soon after you came back did you decide, okay, I'm going to actually do the powerlifting thing again?
Pretty quickly. It was so I got back to New Zealand in April. I think it was April last year, and I did a competition in June. It was like North Island, which was a national qualifier for nationals. I mean, I did nationals that year as well.
Yep. Was that the one you bombed at?
Yep. the nationals were.
What happened at that nationals where you bombed? Was it a bad weight cut or like where did it go wrong?
It was kind of the start of this this hand thing because it was grip,
Yeah, okay.
deadlift on grip. So on a weight that because I was like pulling 300 like pretty consistently like all the way till there, and I opened on I think like 280, which I was super confident with, and it just didn't want to go.
Grip didn't want to grip.
Yeah.
Well, you're starting to get on top of it now, which is good.
Yeah, like it's really starting to come back now with everything that like Effectivus has been helping with.
Yeah. So how soon after that competition did the Ritalin thing happen?
That was at that competition.
At that
the
competition.
same competition I got bombed at. I got banned from.
So from my understanding, you were being targeted pretty hard in terms of drug tests leading into that?
Not leading into that one because I had just come back, but
In the past.
yeah, like especially in 2020, because that was the first time I hit like over 10 times body weight at 74.
Yeah.
And I just got like hammered like from the lead up to comp and at comp and after comp and everything.
Wait, so you got tested even though you bombed?
Yep.
Is there many other cases of that happening?
Probably not.
I don't think so, no.
Probably not. And so, for those who don't understand, the way that WADA testing works is that you commit yourself to WADA testing when you sign up to the IPF, and then people in any sport that are committed to WADA, if they're good enough, get put into a testing pool, and that's where the out of competition testing happens, right? So most of the time, the top athletes in the country are the only people who get out of competition testing. In other sports, it's probably a little bit more frequently, but in powerlifting, because it's so small, they don't have a lot of money to throw at testing. It's normally just the top 1 or 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
So you've obviously made the ranks of that, which is not in my opinion, some people look at that and they're like, oh, they're just fucking testing these people that they know aren't taking drugs, so it makes them look better for ongoing funding. In my opinion, it's like, test the top people over and over again it's good for you as the top drug tested lifter because it consistently tells people you're not on gear.
Yeah, it further solidifies the integrity of the sport kind of thing. It's like, this is how good they are.
So at this competition, you got popped for Ritalin.
Mm-hmm.
And are you happy to talk through the process of then fighting that finding and how the ban actually panned out?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, so like I had no idea that it was going to happen. So I did nationals. I bombed out. I was like pretty gutted and all that kind of stuff from that. And I ended up going back to Mexico for just over a month, like probably like a couple of weeks after competition. So I went to Mexico, and while I was over in Mexico, I got a phone call from what is it called, the Sports Tribunal in New Zealand. And they said that I had an adverse finding in my results of Ritalinic acid, which is like the metabolite of Ritalin. So that's kind of like where it like started. And then because I knew that I took it like a couple of days before competition, it wasn't like a complete shock that it was there in my system, but it was in regards to like it being like a failed drug test because it's okay outside of competition. It's only banned in competition, which is the midnight. I think it's like the midnight before you compete.
Yes,
for like 24 hours or something.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't understand the WADA testing, there's like out of competition drugs that are banned, and then also another list of in competition drugs that are banned, like beta blockers and Ritalin and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So like straight away I wanted to like fight it with them. So I just asked him like pretty much like what the next steps were and all that kind of stuff, because I am going to fight it because I didn't take it on the day and all that kind of stuff. I had to basically consult a lawyer from there. So this happened in, I think it was November that year or October that year. I got this phone call when I was in Mexico. And then I contacted a lawyer or multiple lawyers, because what happens is when you get a adverse finding, they give you $1,000 to go towards a lawyer to fight it. So they do fund like a little bit of it. And they give you like this list of lawyers that they recommend. And yeah, so I contacted quite a few of them. Some of them couldn't take the case because they were like busy. And then I finally got one that did. And pretty much it started from like December, like properly going, because I got provisionally. So firstly, they tell you what happens, and then you get a what they call like a provisional ban, which is you're banned. Like you can't compete or anything, but it's also not publicized right now. But also part of the provisional ban, you're also like treated like a banned athlete, so you can't coach.
Yeah, you fall into that prohibited association list.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had to get rid of a couple of clients during that period, except for my brother, and they punished me for that one there as well.
Just say he's your brother.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to fall for that.
No, not even if it's got the same last name. But yeah, pretty much it was just, the process was really my lawyers going back and forth with them and just getting more information from me. So the big part of the argument behind it was first getting like the concentration level of what was actually in the system, because I was like, surely it has to be low because like I took it like days beforehand. And like Ritalin's like I take the fast acting one as well, so it's kind of like essentially like in and out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got, 18-hour half-life or something like that? Less than that?
Yeah. And like a lot of we went through the route of like looking at studies of like people that take it, like what dose they take, and also the amount of retinoic acid that comes out of urine after that as well in a certain time period. And like the research was showing that it was like 20 milligrams or something like that you take, and then they'll do like a urine test, and you'll have like they measure it in, I think it's like nanograms. It was like 20,000 nanograms per mil or whatever it was. After taking 20 grams, 20 mil. The concentration that was in my sample was 102 nanograms, which is, I also looked further in that for the evidence that we gave to them when they test like drug addicts, for when they're taking like Ritalin or something like that, they have like cutoff limits of that passes as like a negative test, and 100 or below counts as like negative.
And you're at 102.
Yeah, I was at 102, so low enough to basically be negative, but not negative.
Quite there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 0.0000001% of the expected finding in urine if you'd taken it that day.
Exactly. So it was basically, they accepted this as well. Like they did accept that I didn't take it in competition.
Yeah.
But they have like this black and white rule of like it's still popped up on a in competition test. So that's kind of why instead of a 4-year ban, I got a 2-year unintentional use ban at the end of it in February is when the final thing came out.
So ultimately it came down to they accepted that you didn't take it on the day, but the ban is because you didn't have a TUE, essentially.
Yep.
Far out. That's crazy. It's crazy to me that you're serving the same ban. If you go on the WADA list, like people who have been banned in powerlifting, if you go on the IPF and you see the suspension list, people who have taken Tren are serving the same ban as you who took Ritalin 3 days before.
Exactly, yeah. And proved that we didn't take it on the day. So.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the same drug then.
Yeah, basically Tren.
Yeah.
And I mean, how did you feel about that? Like, so did you have any, like how did you feel about that?
Honestly, it was very dark, like after that, because like a big part of my like self-discovery journey, because like I wasn't like in love with powerlifting anymore, and I did want to like find it again through that journey and come back and like kind of like have like my purpose again, kind of thing. So like now that I got like banned and I'm like I've like done all this work, I've like found this like awesome love for powerlifting again. I'm 31 years old at this point, and I'm like banned for 2 years. It got pretty dark for a little while. Because I didn't know any other option from there. Like all I knew was like IPF, all like GPC in New Zealand. But I wasn't like too keen on that.
Mhm.
But everything changed when I came to Aussie for New Year's. This was like during the process of it, and like I just met other people that were here, like like Daniel and all that kind of stuff. And I went to Zero, and I was talking to other people that were like in the untested, and I was like, okay, like maybe this could be a thing. So I went from like very dark to like, okay, let's do this now kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the culture of like powerlifting is so different in New Zealand to it here, eh?
Yeah, like I'd say quite dramatically.
Like everyone I spoke to at Zero Christchurch, when I just go around and talk to people, all they know is the IPF.
Mm.
Yeah, like it's definitely like an IPF dominated country for powerlifting. And
It is for now.
yeah, for now.
Yeah.
And so, when was the moment for you that you decided, okay, well, I'm going to commit to untested?
It was slightly before the ban actually happened, so I got officially banned in. I'm certain it was like February. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm certain. This year.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of decided, I started looking into it from after New Year's when I came here for the Wildlands Festival. So I was like, okay, when this ban comes through, that's when I want to be like pretty much just all in on the untested side.
Is it something that you had considered prior to even going through the ban, or it was just always never an option?
Honestly, I never even thought about it. I just thought that I was going to be with IPF like basically forever kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back then, when you thought you were going to be in IPF forever, how did you look at the untested world of powerlifting? Like, did you look at it as not real powerlifting or just like a separate sport? Like, how did you view things in your eyes?
To be honest, like I never really seen it because like all my feed and all that kind of stuff was just dominated by like IPF stuff and all that. So
Yep.
I never like seen like I'd see like stuff like Larry Wheels and all that kind of stuff pop up, but the actual untested side, like I just never looked at it enough to like be able to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's your experience been making the switch in terms of like, does it feel any different? Is training any different for you? I mean, obviously it kind of coincided as well with you changing coach and also moving your life to another country. There's a lot of change happening at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mean like since jumping on like stuff, like training has definitely been, I'd say like more enjoyable again. Not that it wasn't like enjoyable, but just to the part where like I'm not like sore anymore. Because a huge part of like me training for like IPF and that was not that it was like bad or anything, because I could push past quite a lot, but I was like pushing through like a lot of like pain and all that kind of stuff.
Which is, it's hard to know if that's got anything to do with taking gear, because like the training program is completely different as well.
Exactly.
I was just thinking that with like a lot of IPF athletes that we know, like around Zero and that, their training frequency is so high. So I think that would have been one of the first things to drop down when you switch coaches. They weren't doing multiple SPD sessions a week.
Yeah, that was literally the first thing as well, because I was doing like 3 squatting a week. I was benching pretty much every session, and I'm deadlifting multiple times a week as well. And yeah, like, cause by the time I'd get to my second or third squat day, that's where like that pain thing that I kind of talk about, it's like popping up. Because now it's a little bit more like easier to navigate, because I'm like, okay, I can train hard on squats now. Like I've got this time period to kind of like recover in that, and then I'm good again for the next week.
Sorry. Was it hard for you to, at the start, because I know a lot of people that come from that higher frequency style of training, was it hard for you to accept that I only need to squat once a week, I only need to bench once to twice a week, deadlift once a week, or were you just kind of accepting from it, or you had a greater understanding of training to know that you can still get fucking stronger?
Yeah, well, like to be honest, I just had so much trust in Thomas at the start, because I knew him through like Jess, and I've seen him around for quite a while. So it was more like relieving than anything, because if Thomas like gave this to me, I'm like, okay, sweet, like I can get strong on like once per week. Like it was more like that kind of thinking behind it.
I feel like you were ready for it as well, as in like our initial discussions, exactly what you said before. It's kind of like I could tell the love was gone, and you were just ready for a change in general. It could have been anything. Like we could have changed anything in the program, and I think as long as it satisfied that principle of you need change right now, you would have found that love again. And I mean, most of the progress we make in powerlifting is just enjoying training to the point where we show up and consistently push hard.
Exactly.
The programming science doesn't have to be that crazily well thought out. It just has to tick the box of progressive overload. Most of it's just the mental game of showing up and training fucking hard.
Exactly, yeah.
Has your outlook then on power, like we haven't spoken about how you think about training and goals and where you want to be in the sport, but has your outlook or the view of what's possible for you personally changed between pre-ban and post-ban?
Yeah, 100%. So, like, my thinking behind everything now is that, like, I always, like, through that, like, ayahuasca journey and all that kind of stuff, like, I always try, like, find, like, meaning behind, like, everything as well. And, like, the meaning behind this, like, just to me personally was that, like, I wasn't thinking big enough beforehand. So now it's giving me, like, an option to think a little bit bigger of what is possible, and the progress that I've made so far as well, I've like started to really think that this is actually true as well, coming to the untested side.
Yeah, the hardest thing people find with that transition is like when you people think that being on gear gives you an increased rate of progress, and if you were to average it out over time, I mean the answer is yes, because your progress is going to pop up at some point. But if you micronize it down to a smaller time period, you get an initial boost, and then the rate of progress is pretty much the same as when you're natty. And so the hardest thing for people making the transition that you've recently made, we went through this with like Whitaker and stuff when he switched from IPF to untested to, is that you get this initial boost and you're like, oh shit, I just added 40 kilos to my total in a few months. And then you're like, well, if I do that in 3 years' time, I'm going to be like 200 kilos ahead. And then you work out very quickly that's not how it works. So like, yeah, just an interesting side note. I think, but I like that idea of like you're reflecting back on your ayahuasca journeys and learning that idea of integration, because it's one thing that psychedelics are potent for. You know, it removes your predictive processing and allows you to step back and see the world for what it is. It could open your eyes. You know, open your eyes to broader possibilities and levels you a lot.
Exactly, yeah. Like eliminates like expectations. You know, you take what you get and you let go of what you don't have.
Did you ever think about like when you first made the decision to compete untested? Did you ever think about like if it was going to bring up maybe some times in your life that you know, less desirable times, like with drug addiction and things like that, by taking performance enhancing drugs, or did that never cross your mind?
No, to be honest, like that part of my life, because it's like well over a decade ago now. Like I actually, even when I like tell the story behind it, I'm always like trying to remember, like, because it was so far ago, and I'm like,
you're so far detached from that life.
Yeah, it's like, was that even me, kind of thing? Like,
yeah,
am I like, did I dream that? So it's so far gone that it's just got like nothing to do with like any thoughts or anything that I have like nowadays, really.
I think again, another thing that people just won't be able to understand is how impactful something like your year in Peru is going to be on the past, and like how potent it is at fundamentally changing you as a human being, right?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I could keep talking about this stuff forever, hey?
Me too.
Just trying to think. Well, where to next? Like, what do you see yourself doing? You've made the move to Australia. You've done some new competitions. What does 2025 look like for Chris Kennedy in terms of competitions, in terms of continued self-improvement and life, career?
Did we mention that Chris is the #1 Australian under 82 powerlifter?
Nah, it should just be assumed. People should know his name.
Yeah.
He is.
Technically on open powerlifting now, I'm still like New Zealand.
Nah, it doesn't matter. You did it in Australia.
Yeah, bro.
I'm changing my passport.
Yeah, what does next year look like for you, man? What do you want to do powerlifting wise, job wise, life wise?
Powerlifting wise, I want to do so a couple of competitions. The first one in like possibly in March, that Pro Raw one. And then that nationals looks like it's going to be pretty sick in August. And then also like I don't know if they're going to do like another Zero Pro, but if that one was up again, then something like that as well would be like the competing thing for next year. 2 competitions minimum. Career wise, probably just like keep doing what I'm doing now. Like working for Steve. It's pretty chill. And yeah, just kind of just literally just what I'm doing now, but just stepping up like the ladder as much as I can and whatever happens.
Awesome, man. Any other questions?
Nah.
Bro, thanks you so much for taking the time and telling your story. I'm sure it's going to inspire and educate and motivate a lot of people. So we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Zero Podcast. If you want more information, head to our Instagram, Zero_weakness. Hit the link in the bio for all of our services and any information on upcoming workshops and events. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so we can have a broader reach and answer more people's questions. Thank you once more.